Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Snarp Fangle podcast. I am your host, Jake Metzger, along with a man who keeps it mellow, likes to stay near to his girl, Misa Amain. This man keeps it real without ever taking the L. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed.
Glad to be here, Jake. Glad to be here.
How are you doing, good sir?
Well, I mean, you just gave everyone my life story, so what can I say beyond that point?
I like to write names in a book. Oh, and our other person that you have yet to hear yet, but he's here, I swear. So let me introduce him. It's the man who stares out the window at the horizon at the Kame house, who loves to bop it with his fellow cadets, and he loves shooting his grapple hook while pouring some tequila on the rocks. Ladies and gentlemen, Frankie.
Hey.
How you doing?
First off, they're blended. They're not on the rocks.
Oh, you do blend? Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry. I was going to do on the rocks because I thought that was a safe bet, but I was too safe.
Clearly, you haven't had margaritas with
Clearly, I have not had a margarita. No, I don't drink personally. But I was thinking about your guys' intro today, and I'm like, oh, let me try to type it out. And so then one of my coworkers came over and tried to bug me, and his name's Kobe. Shout out to Kobe, by the way. Comes in, tries to bug me, tries to be a nuisance. I love you, Kobe. Don't worry. And then he's like, let me help you. Here, help me type the intro out. So he helped me type out the intro for you, Frankie. So yeah,
Perfect.
that was not only me behind.
Well, then again, thank you, Kobe.
Yeah, thank you, Kobe. You're awesome. So, how are you doing, good sir?
Doing all right.
How are you doing on this fine 23rd anniversary of the original Shrek movie?
Is that what it is today?
That's what it is
Seriously?
today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It also is the anniversary of Shakespeare's death and birthday. So, yeah, it just so happens Shrek released on the same day. So,
Very
who would have thought?
interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting tidbit of information.
I know. It's fascinating, right, David?
Oh, yeah.
Shakespeare died and then Shrek came along 200 years
Shrek was
later.
born.
Shrek was born.
Yes.
On Shakespeare's
Two
birthday.
examples of timeless art.
Timeless art, exactly. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Snarp Fangle. If you are not aware, this is a podcast. What? And basically what we do here is we go through, we bring a topic of discussion to you, the audience, on the interwebs, and we discuss it and have a good time while doing it. We'll see. We're talking about that weeb crap around here today. No, I'm joking. So anyway, we're going to talk today about anime. And I'm very excited to talk about it because this is something that, for me, I'm not super into it, but we have some agent in the field, I would say, to bring on some delightful info to the West. So I'm very, very appreciative of you, Frankie.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be of any service, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here as well. So anyway, gentlemen, I want to start off kind of laying the groundwork. So I want to ask you guys, what was your first anime you ever watched? And what's the most recent one you've watched or are watching currently? And David, I want to go to you. What was the first one you ever did? Film or show?
First anime ever. That's a tough one. It's reaching back into the before time. I believe probably for me it would have been probably Dragon Ball Z.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's also my first anime.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Toonami after school, bro. At 3 o'clock, as soon as you get home from school, it was easy.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, Toonami. Oh man, Toonami's. We'll get into that later. But okay, so Dragon Ball Z. Do you know where you were when you first saw it? Or you said Toonami, but it was after school. Any other details?
My living room in my apartment when I lived in Arizona.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you weren't were you a little kid or were you? How old were you?
I was 10 or 12, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've watched a couple other episodes of it before I moved there, but that's when I first started really getting into it.
Nice. What arc were you on? Do you remember?
No.
It wasn't a giant white dinosaur
No.
called Frieza?
No. I have to say the first arc in Dragon Ball that I remember is probably the Cell arc. It's also probably the most memorable, along with Boo. Majin Buu.
Yeah. He's the fat pink guy, right?
Yeah.
I like that guy. He's cool. Yeah. And then David, for you, how old were you when you first watched Dragon Ball Z?
I probably this is a tough one.
Yeah?
This is a tough one.
You were a kid, maybe?
I was probably in high school,
Okay.
somewhere in high school.
Nice.
I would say.
Somewhere in the before time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you know what? I haven't thought of this at all, actually. I know I wrote this down and everything, and I haven't even thought about it. My first anime
was last year.
No, it's not. I would have to say, like, I'm trying to think of stuff that's not like the American anime, like the Jet X or whatever that I grew up watching, or like, the Cartoon Network stuff. Man, I guess I would have to say, like, in terms of film, it would have to be one of the Ghibli movies. Like, just for me personally, like, probably, I think it was bits and pieces of like Spirited Away, and then specifically maybe Kiki's Delivery Service. And I was about the same age, I think, as you, like 10 or 12, something like that. So
Okay.
it was later in my life. Like, we would just watch stuff like on the, like, the more Americanized kind of shows that was heavily inspired by, Eastern culture and all that stuff in anime itself. So that'd be my first one. But Frankie, what are you most recently watching right now?
I actually was just watching Remonster before I came over.
Remonster.
Cool. It's new for the spring season here. So yeah, I am really bad about binge watching a lot of stuff. So I
really bad or really good at it?
Really good, but it is bad. So I'm running out of older stuff that I can actually sit and binge watch. So then I have to wait for new episodes every week like everybody else, and it kind of sucks.
So Remonster?
Remonster.
Interesting. What's that about, if you don't mind?
This guy's reincarnated into another world, so typical isekai.
Okay.
But he's reborn as like a hobgoblin, and you find out that they age relatively fast, like daily, kind of. Like the old man's only like what was it, like 4 years old, but he's like old with like a 4 foot long beard and everything, right? And every day, like by day 10, they're already like 10-year-old kids.
Jeez, wow.
Yeah. So, but then they evolve into a hobgoblin, which is like a higher tier, and then into an ogre. And so only episode 4, but cool stuff's happening.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. David, what was the last one you watched, film or show?
The last anime I watched was actually at Frankie's place. And that was
was it also Remonster?
No, it was not. It was
Ninja Kamui.
Yes, that is what it was.
Ooh. Yeah.
That is what it was.
What's that about? Ninja Kamui?
Don't want to steal your thunder here, David.
Well, I know way less about it than you, but it's basically like ninja exist in the world, and they're like,
whoa, it's like a secret order almost.
Ooh, that's cool.
So blood in, blood out. You know, if you defect and try and leave the order, they pretty much hunt you down and kill you. There's a lot of blood. It's actually a Cartoon Network original.
And what?
Yeah,
really?
It's on HBO Max. It's really good.
Dang.
It's kind of different feel and theme to it, but it's reminiscent of like Boondocks, like that kind of art style a little bit, a little more updated, but I feel along those lines. So
a little bit more like modern, kind of like Boondocks era, I would say. In terms of animation style.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which is really quite interesting.
That's the best anime ever, is Boondocks.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, because Boondocks, a lot of Boondocks was heavily inspired by anime.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. For me, I would have to say I'm terrible at watching shows. Frankie, you know me. I'm so bad.
It's all right. I'm just judging you.
At actually watching the shows. You're really good at it. I'm just the opposite. I just don't really watch TV. I'm more like a video game and podcast person. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not so anyway, the last one though I would have to say is probably Pluto, a Netflix original anime. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
About the robots and AI, and there's a robot detective who they all look human, and it's hard to tell who's human and who's not.
Just gonna add this to my list.
You need to look it up. Pluto's it's only 8 episodes. It's on
Okay.
Netflix. Really good. Very, very good. Like the first episode hooked me. And like there's this other AI robot that's going around killing people, other people who were part of the defense force in a prior war on Earth, where it was AI fighting alongside mankind. and they're trying to find insurgents. It's like a very much like an anti-war / cautionary tale of robots and AI and that kind of
It's
thing.
anime version of Terminator.
No, it's
John Connor.
no. It's like robots are just part of everyday life. Kind of
Gotcha.
like, it's kind of like a more advanced like iRobot. Like they have human skin, they look normal, totally fine, but like they act like robots.
Gotcha.
And it's really good. I highly recommend it. And there's like little kids who are robots and everything. It's like
Honestly,
it's legit.
Netflix has had some pretty good bangers. They have had Kotaro Lives Alone, which is super
about that
cute.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. This little 4 or 5 year old boy who lives in this apartment by himself, and he learned to speak like by watching these old like samurai movies. So he's very proper. His neighbors end up taking care of him, and you find out some other stuff. But it's a really cute show.
That's super cool. Nice. Yeah, but Pluto, dude, it's only 8 episodes. It's super good.
I'll finish it in one evening.
Yeah, you're gonna watch it in one day. You're gonna get home, be on episode 7 by the time you go to bed.
So I watch a whole lot of anime, and I know it sounds really bad, and I have in my anime list, and there's like 200 days.
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Days.
Yeah.
That's how many hours I've watched anime of how much stuff I've watched. And some of it does blur and some of it doesn't, but I get through quite a bit.
And speaking of getting through kind of quite a bit, I should say, let's just dive into that, Frankie. What have you brought to us out in the field of watching anime? what have you brought to the non-weeb kind?
Honestly, it's growing.
Really?
Yeah, anime I feel like has grown quite a bit in the last 5+ years.
Okay.
I mean, I had a reawakening of getting into anime 2017, 2018. I rewatched some of Black Butler, and my binge video watching this started all over again. And so honestly, that's where a lot of it has come in. And I have noticed at least that there are more people aware of it and know certain shows, even if they're quote unquote mainstream. But I think it's cool. Orville's got a Comic-Con that happens now, and so you have smaller communities. I mean, Orville's not small, but it's not big by any means. And they have a little Comic-Con that happens, and you've got the big one in LA. You've got one that happens in San Francisco. You've got Sacramento.
Sac Anime.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's growing. Someone actually just sent me a festival in Texas. Like, oh, you should have gone to this. It was a Japanese food festival, but they had other like anime stuff there too.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it's cool. It's cool. It's growing.
All right. So like 5 years ago, where were you 5 years ago? You weren't watching anime. You were on the precipice. You just took a break. Was it interesting?
It was one of those things where it was harder to access it, I think.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't a matter of I didn't like watching it. Toonami was shrunk down on Cartoon Network down to Saturday nights for like 3 hours, right? From like 11 to 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was like Kiss Anime and stuff you could get online, but it always seemed more troublesome than to try and just sit at your TV or on your phone and just watch it. So
something I wanted to ask you, actually, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Something I wanted to ask you was the whole Funimation thing that happened recently. You had an account with that. I remember you actually offered it to me. Is it completely gone or?
No, it's still there.
Is it? Okay.
There. I do know that they gave me an email that says there's like an actual hard like date where it closes.
Okay.
And all they've done is merged it into Crunchyroll. So if you had a Funimation,
so if you have it,
yeah,
it just
and
okay.
literally, okay, Sony fanboy right here is going to pop out. Sony owns
Go for it.
Crunchyroll, Funimation, Aniplex, which is a huge
Dude, they own
animation studio.
Aniplex.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, they didn't purchase that. That is an in-house studio that they started.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
it is very cool to see it all kind of coalesce and come together. That being said, it also makes it easier because I feel like this is like a sub streaming wars 2.0 instead of Netflix, Hulu, etc. They've kind of kept it going with a new wave of people getting into anime. And Hulu's got its own original animes.
Oh, dude,
Netflix has got its own animes. There's High Dive, a new company coming out. They've been out for about 2-ish years. They have a lot of older animes, and then they've had a few select good exclusives. Made in the Abyss was exclusive to High Dive, I think, for a year, and then it came out on Netflix. It's very cutesy, cool exploration, like anime. I think it had 2 seasons. But they've had some up and coming good ones too. Last season they had Ishinoko, super big. They have Dangers in My Heart, rom-com. I'm a sucker for rom-com, so judge me all you want.
Some of them I hear are pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch. So like, because I heard with the Funimation thing, I heard like they were canceling accounts. I heard all the danger. Like apparently, like there was canceling accounts. All your purchases were gone. But I didn't hear that there was any merging of.
There
Crunchyroll
was
and them.
there has been people who have lost content that they paid for in this whole process.
And that very well may be. And unfortunately, I don't have any experience in that. I haven't purchased anything specifically on Funimation aside from my subscription. So in that regard, my whole library, kind of like my watch list and the tracking of all that has merged over. So I can't complain. At first, they're like, oh, you can sign in with your other account. I did have to go and cancel one of them. And I was really weary about how that would affect it because I did have both. And I was paying stubbornly for like 3 or 4 months just to make sure I didn't actually lose where I was. Is I manually tried to pick where I was in a show and add it to my watch list. And I was like, you know what? At some point they have to do this. And thankfully they did. And it pulled my whole watch list over from Funimation onto Crunchyroll.
Okay, cool.
So that part's been relatively easy. I will say it was a little slow, but you waited long enough and it works just fine. So
That's good. Is there like, do you use like your PS5 or the TV for the Crunchyroll consumption?
I have Crunchyroll. I think I pay through my Google Play stuff.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, online through the Android TV or on my computer. I mean, super easy to access. Crunchyroll's on everything.
Yeah.
High Dive, I did not know was not. I went to a friend's house and he has a newer smart TV, but it was a LG and they have their WebOS stuff, and there was not a High Dive app. Nor was it available on his PS5. So
really,
we had to cast it to the TV from one of our phones.
Interesting. That's weird. Yeah. It fascinates me that Sony owns just so much of this and the access to it. It kind of at first is scary, but if like it's just they kind of just streamlining things, then that's just kind of nice and more easy. You know? I
mean, they own other studios too besides Aniplex. I just know Aniplex is a giant studio as far as anime is concerned. A1 Studios, they do own those, or A1 Media, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and they've kind of taken a sub route. Not that they haven't battled Xbox on purchasing game studios, but they really have taken in some of that media and entertainment direction. I mean, they make everybody's cameras on everybody's phones. It doesn't matter who you are. Even high-end cameras. I'm horrible about watching documentaries on top of anime. And one of them is one of the Business Insiders, Why So Expensive, right? And they make, man, I wish I could remember the company. It's this company that hand makes cameras still.
Whoa.
But they're like $10,000 to $30,000 and they're super high-end stuff, right? Sony makes all their sensors in the lenses.
Oh, okay.
So it's the handmade part. Yeah.
And interesting.
So it's one of those things. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they have helped a lot of the anime. I think that's part of why it's so readily available in a lot of ways.
And they know there's money to be made.
Right.
In the West and the everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, wow, it's crazy. Because this is the first time I'm hearing about like the streamlining, all that. I thought Funimation was like, I guess I was just part of the Twitter craze when I was looking at it, so I was uninformed. But thank you for telling me about it. Yeah, and I was looking on Crunchyroll's website here. It says there's one tier that's like $8 a month. That's on one device, and then you have the regular, which is 10, which is normal. It looks like you get HD, and it's ad free, of course. And then you get 15 a month, which gives you just some extra stuff and all that, the free shipping as well. So it's interesting. So if you were to recommend it, like Crunchyroll seems to be the way to go unless you just straight up just pirate your anime.
Yeah, I would say it has the largest library, especially after acquiring Funimation. I mean, Funimation for a while, it had a library that I think rivaled Crunchyroll with their kind of shtick being they had a lot of dubbed content. I mean, Funimation had its own dubbing department, and you could watch anything, and if it was dubbed, usually it had that little Funimation logo at the beginning of it. Even stuff you watched on Netflix or Hulu, they'd have that boom, gling, gloom, and have like the little logo.
Yeah, the little logo.
Oh yeah, Funimation was for a while pretty much the premier company bringing anime to the West.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's interesting that Sony is, just look at the business side of things for a second. Like Sony is, people are going through Sony because they are probably one of the most successful companies, not just in the games industry, but in media in general.
right.
And, companies in Japan specifically want to stay encased in that, and they don't want to go with the Western side of things, or companies that start over here. They want to, stay local, I should say. So Sony is like that avenue. I mean, they have the camera market, they have their movies, they have the anime, and then they have PlayStation.
The anime.
They have the anime. we have the anime.
Yeah. It's like an Arby's commercial, but entertainment.
We have the anime. Yeah. So I think, I always like wondered, like, because right now I'm kind of going through One Piece, actually. Like I started watching that.
It's an endeavor.
And people, because shout out to my buddy Josh, because when I was visiting him this fall, he said, you know what? Just watch it. And I was like, why? Why should I watch One Piece? He's like puts his hand together as we're sitting at the dinner table. He's like, all right, here we go. So he kind of just basically gave me the rigmarole of, okay, you should just watch it because people say, oh man, there's so much filler. And he's like, but the filler's actually good. And I was like, okay. And so I watched up to episode 15, where we find our third character of our third character, the guy in the village or whatever. I can't remember his name.
Big Nose?
Yeah, the big nose guy.
You mean Usopp?
Yeah, that guy. So like,
Ooh,
so like we're in that arc, and we've been in that town for like 8 episodes, and it's still going on. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not like worried about going someplace with the show. I'm more excited about just watching the journey of it.
It is very descriptive.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that you can glean from watching those said filler episodes. And I will have to say, as a Dragon Ball Super fan, and not super as in the series Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, not Dragon Ball
just
Super,
like
but like a super fan. Yeah.
They're made by the same studio, and so they have similarities in that regard as filler. I would say that I do prefer watching One Piece's fillers.
Yeah.
They do have a lot more information. They progress a little bit more. I mean, they still take forever to get through some pieces of things, but it's a little bit more deserved, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like the characters are super entertaining to watch. They're super fun. And also the show is like, it's like as violent as it's like PG-13 or whatever.
Yeah, it's very.
It's not like super
and as an
bloody
adult
or anything, but it's like super entertaining, and it's like giving you just enough edge. I would say.
Right. I would say as an adult, it's still entertaining. It's not like they edited it down. This is for kids.
No, not at all.
It's still
and the dub's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There's some voice where I'm like, okay, whatever. But overall, I know there's like, well, buddy, you got 1,000+ episodes to go. Good luck. And I'm like, no, it's not really my goal. My goal is to just enjoy it, and just to have a fun
Well, then
time.
I won't tell you it took me only a month to get to episode 864.
Did you watch just recaps or?
No, I literally would come home and have it on and just watch it. I even got the kids to watch it with me for quite a bit of it, actually. But
they burnt out at episode 400, but
and then those filler episodes start coming on. There were a couple where it's like, okay, time for some TikTok, but because where it's gonna go. There are some times where you're just like, oh, they're gonna drag this out, and then they're gonna fight so and so and so. I will say probably out of 800, I think it was 76 I was on. Probably about 50 I kind of skimmed over as I did other things or cooked dinner or something, whatever. But
it's kind of like would you call it the Seinfeld of anime, maybe, where you can just put it on and it just goes?
No, there's a lot that you miss if you don't sit and watch. You have to understand how they structure their stuff and when filler is starting, and you have to pay attention because it will fade out, and sometimes it's like
Yeah,
2
'cause-
episodes, and other times it's like 7 episodes. So.
It's funny, like I've only watched that many episodes, but I've noticed that like once I'm in the filler, I'm like, oh, this is filler.
Yeah,
like I'm here.
It's obvious.
It's like like I was like 2 episodes later, I'm like, oh, okay, this is just the filler. Okay, cool. I mean, I was like, I don't want to miss anything because I kind of want to see where this goes, you know?
Right, and like I
you're
said,
invested.
there's still information in there to be had, so it's not like you should skip it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, it is an endeavor, and someone other than myself probably will never make it to episode 870 something, but it's worth trying. And there's a lot of good stuff that happens and some interesting things. And if you feel invested, then when you get into the stories and the arcs, you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy what's going on.
And that's kind of where I want to get to in our next part of this. But before we go, David, do you have any experience with One Piece at all?
No, I've never actually watched One Piece. I don't know, something about it just kind of like, I don't know what it was. It was just kind of like, I don't want to watch this kind of a thing.
I was the same way until I was just said, just try it out. And I'm like, okay, fine.
And also the fact that it's really, really long also put me off because I have experience with long anime, and it's like I've gotten burned out on it. Like Bleach, I watched a crap ton of Bleach, and then it got to the point where there were no more episodes, and so I started reading the manga past where the episodes had gotten to, and it just seemed like there was no end in sight. It wasn't building towards anything. It just kind of like more hijinks with the same characters. So I was like, okay, I'm done with this. The same with, I was into, what is it called? Ranma 1/2 for a while. It's a weird old anime.
Ranma 1/2. Is it?
I just want to sidebar, the weird old anime is kind of his shtick.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those weird old school anime. Like one of those it was one of those weird ones where it was like marketed to teen girls, but it was also really pervy. So it was like this weird balance. But I mean, that's Japan for you.
There's the Japanese part of it.
But so I was watching that for a little while, and it was, and then I started to notice like the story kind of drew you in, like, oh yeah, these two characters who can't stand each other, they're going to fall in love at some point, right? And then, but it just never seemed like it was happening. So I kind of cheated. I looked ahead through the synopsis of all the episodes, and it didn't ever happen. It just kind of kept going till the show got canceled. So after those experiences, I was like, I don't want to get into another long show.
Well, if that's not a long show, is Sailor Moon, David. You should watch some Sailor Moon. Oof. Yeah.
Admittedly, I did watch it back in the days of coming home. I would watch Dragon Ball. My sister would watch Sailor Moon because they were literally on right after.
Yeah, right after the other. Yeah.
So, have the time instead of doing homework, you just sat and watched Sailor Moon.
Mm-hmm.
So
hey, it gets you out of homework. So
yeah.
There you go.
Until your parents get home and be like, is your homework done?
Where's your homework?
Yeah.
Oh, is there anything else to report, Agent Frankie, in the anime scene? What do you want to see? You say it's growing. You say there's some we'll talk about it later, but there's some really interesting stuff going on in terms of just kinds of shows and the stories they're telling, and from what I've seen. But what would you like to see going forward?
That's a deep question. I'm not entirely sure. I enjoy all the different perspectives of the different types of anime that there are. So that part's hard. And I was always bummed out about not being able to watch stuff when it's airing. Because here in the West, even if it's in Japanese, it has to be subtitled first. Mm-hmm. So there's usually a delay in that. And it's usually a couple weeks, couple months, whatever. And they've gotten better. With Crunchyroll being one of those premier ones where they're usually next week.
Yeah, next
couple days, something like that.
Which is super cool.
Kaiju number 8 is currently airing, and it is live on Saturdays on Crunchyroll.
Really?
Airs the same time it airs in Japan. I think here it's actually 10 o'clock in the morning because it airs at Friday night over there or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then after it airs, you have like an hour or two before you can watch it, so to speak, on demand, where you can just click and play and select the episode. But that is really cool. I've missed the first 2 episodes to watch live, so I don't know what I'm missing as far as that experience. But I have watched them later that afternoon, and so I'm enjoying that. It is good anime.
How many episodes are they in right now for Kaiju 8?
2.
Oh, just 2. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's
just 2.
recent.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I don't know of another anime that was aired simultaneously. And I know a lot of people will know simulcast, meaning dubbed and subbed, but this is actually simultaneously aired at the same time as the Japanese release. So
Have they so they've never done this before where they air it live
not that
in
I'm
Japan
aware
and
of.
America?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh.
I mean, unless you got one of those cool TV channels that, you could watch stuff from other parts of the world. Usually it's like the Arabic stuff or Spanish TV or something, but I don't know. There may be one for Japan. I'm not aware of it. I don't pay for it, so.
We don't really have any knowledge of that either.
But this is easily available and is the first that I'm aware of that is happening. So it's cool.
Nice.
They have a live little counter like throughout the week. When you open Crunchyroll, there's like that little banner and it's like recommended for you or something like that, right? Like how when you open Netflix, it's those first ones. Okay. So like throughout the week, it'll change out, but it'll be like, 3 more days, 6 hours and 43 minutes. So it's kind of cool. So like Friday night, I opened it. It's like 11 hours, 4 minutes or something like that.
You're like, I know what I'm doing Saturday morning or Saturday night when I get some time, That's really cool. I mean, it seems like simulcast is the future, honestly. Like maybe not dub.
Yeah,
but probably
if
just
you're still in the subtitle
if you want
stuff,
the subtitles, and they
can
can put money into subtitles
because of AI. AI can generate those subtitles as they go.
And that's one for sure. But they're definitely going to they're definitely going to use AI for that, dude. 100%. It's like you want it in Hindi and French, and you want it in Gaelic. There you go. You have the show.
I would have gone with Portuguese myself, but
Portuguese works too. Yeah. But
yes, let's broadcast our anime in a dead Scottish language. Well, no, sorry to any Gaelic speakers out there. Almost dead, dying,
almost dying
on critical life
mostly
support.
dead. This is a language that's mostly dead. That should be the next Gaelic novel written. Mostly
people who speak Gaelic speak Gaelish, kind of like Spanglish. Like they say some words in Gaelic, but they really speak in English now.
Oh man, yeah, that's some good. I want to see anime in Gaelic. That's what I want to see. The dub. Oh yeah, the dub. Kind of like the British dub versus the American dub. Like I want the Gaelic dub. That's what I want.
It's very okay.
I want Cowboy Bebop Gaelic dub. That's what I want.
Oh man, that reminds me of a YouTube channel I watched there.
If you bring up the abridged stuff.
No. It was some weird stuff, but they someone made this, it was like some hentai manga or something, and they translated into northern British slang.
Like a Guy Ritchie movie.
Oh no.
You have Southern Britain, kind of where England and London is located, where people speak, with more posh British accents. And then you go north from there, and it's basically like the British version of rednecks. Yeah, that kind of slang.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's into... What YouTube channel was it? No, I'm joking.
Someone who just got canceled.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, anything else to report, Frankie, before we move on?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
All right. Favorite current anime right now?
Ooh, put me on the spot.
First one pops in mind. Oh God, what's that giant white fluffy figure walking through the hallway? I said the first thing that pops in mind. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
It's hard because the new season just started, so I don't think it's fair because there's only 2 or 3 episodes in.
What about from last season then? Because how do the seasons work? Is it fall, spring, or summer?
you still have those outliers that kind of beat to their own drum. They either start a few weeks early or a few weeks late or halfway through technically the season. But you have winter season, which is typically end of December, beginning of January into March. Then you have spring season until about the end of May, June, somewhere in there. And then you have summer. And then usually there's some sort of break in the middle of summer. I don't think there's like a few weeks where there's nothing. And then it pushes it closer to December. And then there's obviously a little break somewhere in there.
And now we're in the spring, and that starts what, January, February?
Spring starts in March, April.
Okay.
So there's a few soft launches. I don't know what else to call them that started a little bit sooner.
Yeah,
and
kind of get ahead of it. Yeah.
And there's a whole new section of anime that's starting now. So
yeah.
But favorite, I don't know if I have a current one. I am watching Undead Unluck.
Undead Unluck.
Yeah, and that one is I'm assuming is going to be like 24 episodes because I'm on episode 19 or 20. That one's been pretty good. It's a little outrageous. The last couple episodes have been a little wild. It's this guy that can't die, and he's got a power that's called undead, so he literally just can't die. And there are other, what do they call them? Disruptors. That's not the word they use. I apologize. Anybody else that has watched it and is going to be like, you retard.
That's not the right descriptor.
Yeah, it's not. But
you fake fan, you.
Pretty much what you learn is there's this book that gives these guys quests, and there's only 12 of them that sit at a round table pretty much. And so they get quests and they have to complete them. And when they don't complete them, they get penalties. And for example, like one of the penalties is Uma Daylight or Uma one of the seasons. So summer or fall or something. And the last, like you don't see those are more backstory that they give you, but Uma Galaxy. So everybody on Earth thought that Earth was just Earth and the moon, and that was kind of it, and the sun. And then Galaxy expanded, and they like confirmed that everybody knows that there's always been a galaxy and the Big Bang and stars and all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of weird that like to think that we would only have this knowledge as people fail to complete these quests type thing, and things are expanded. And so one of the completion rewards was like unified language. So like everybody speaks English, for example.
Oh, interesting. Huh?
Except for the disruptors. God, I want to remember that name that they call them, but they still speak. So like one of them was Chinese. So he still spoke Chinese, and he tried to confirm it by speaking to his assistant who also spoke Chinese. She's like, I don't understand what you're saying. So he's like, oh, okay. Everybody speaks the same language now. So, but it's a cool, interesting kind of show. There's a lot of them though. Yeah. My relationship was level 99. Super.
I think I've heard of that name. Yeah.
I'm making Miss Kringle.
This is the one. That's why I've heard of it. Yeah, because I heard she was watching it. Yeah.
So
you got her, or the the kids were telling me about this. Yeah,
no, I got her.
Yeah, you got her.
I got her. I'm gonna claim this one.
Yeah, you
first
got
off, but I've also gotten her
the
to
kids
watch.
Told me about it. They were like
plenty of other ones.
Frankie got her to watch anime.
Yep. I got her. Got her. She's on like her 10th series, I think.
What?
Yeah, she's watched quite a few. Don't let her lie to you if she says she doesn't care for him. So
dang.
I have been kind of being extra mindful too. Being, she's the pastor. I can't show her any of David's hentai. But
we'll get there.
Yeah. So but at the same time, like I'm trying to keep it interesting. Like I've shown her some rom-coms. She watched Erase, which is a really good anime, and it's about like going back in time. Ooh, snap. To save like a childhood friend that he only like vaguely remembers. He's like, oh yeah, the girl was in my class because he read like an article. And so like he ends up going back 20 years or something like that to like relive his childhood. And he's like, oh, I could save her this time since I'm here. And they go back and forth in time. It's super cool. It's a little dark. But I'm trying to keep it interesting by going back and forth. She watched Home Hero, which is about a guy that saves his daughter from his abusive Yakuza boyfriend, or her, sorry. And he ends up killing her. And then the Yakuza are like trying to find him. So they like pretty much kick the crap out of him and then like force him to help figure out what's going on. And he's like misleading them. It's really good. Then you throw in like Horimiya, which is probably one of my favorite rom-coms. It's super good, super easy to watch. You know what I mean? Just
you're balancing it out. Yeah. Are you taking like older anime too, or just the newer?
I wouldn't say older, like
90s or anything.
Yeah, anything like that. But like, I think the first one I got her to watch was Snow White with the red hair.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Chelsea told me about that.
Yeah, it's a really good adventure type anime with rom-com elements. It's good. It's 2 seasons, 24 episodes.
So you're telling me you're converting somebody. You're showing anime to somebody who's not usually used to it.
Yep.
Now let me ask you this question, Frankie. What's going through your mind while you're like picking these recommendations? Because I have a question here of like just in general, why do we like anime? But I want to hear from you. What's your process of like just showing these to her? Like you're trying to balance it out. You're picking, recommendations, and she's actually going with it, which is cool. That's neat. But what's your like thought process into that? What was the first one?
Snow White with the red hair. Okay. I wanted something that didn't have a ton of guts, obviously. Being again,
no Demon Slayer for her. Obviously.
Yeah. We're not there yet. So, but knowing her and her personality, and I have people that are just like, oh, anime is stupid, stop watching cartoons, right? And so like, but there's literally anime for everybody. There is literally little kid stuff, there's romance stuff, there's action stuff, there's just slice of life stuff, sports things. Like you can literally find anime,
cool sci-fi stuff,
any type of whatever you want to watch, if you're just willing to give it a chance. And that's the cool part, I think, is why anime is so cool. And I think I'm one of those people, not just anime. This kind of branches out to everything in my world. Is I like a little bit of everything. Yeah. So like movies, shows, music. So I like that anime is just as diverse. So.
Like, and we're always on the search for just good media. I mean, there's people out there that go and they say, oh, well, like you just said, like, oh, stop watching cartoons. When are you going to grow up? But it's like, in the reality of it, it's a medium. Like it's something to tell all these different stories and all these different concepts. Like it's an avenue for that. It's not just cartoons.
Right. And I think that anime is honestly a little less restrictive because when you think about like shows in general, right? If you want something cool to happen with explosions, you have to have a whole department that does this type of stuff, or you have to have all these CGI hours put in and have it look halfway decent. Otherwise, that could hinder a show. And so I think anime being the medium that it is really opens a door in a different direction that makes those type of things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So
I think one thing that I particularly like about just the media, is that the right word? Medium? Am I using that correctly? Because it's not genre. That's different. David, am I incorrect in that, or is that medium?
That's probably correct.
Yeah, because I think about Guillermo del Toro, that director who did Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy and all this good stuff, and he said that animation is cinema, and I think animation is kind of where it falls under. Yeah, there's anime and it's Western or Eastern animation, I should say, but anime is its own thing. And I think that's one thing I love about it, is because I was in preparation for this, I was watching different video essays, I was doing some research and typing up different creators, and I was like, there's pretty much, like you said, something out there for literally everybody.
Literally.
And some of the concepts are cool. Like I never heard of what the main drive was for Jujutsu Kaisen, but when I heard of it and like what cursed energy is, I'm like, that's freaking dope. Right? I want to watch that now. Or even Pluto, like there's a weird like AI robot detective going around. He's who's killing AI robots. There's Cowboy Bebop, which is more appealing to a Western audience, arguably. But it's there and it's pretty dang good. David, what do you think about all this? Why do you like anime?
I mean, kind of the same reasons. It's just there's so much of it out there. It's just kind of amazing to me that what started off as just Japanese imagination or animation. Sorry.
Hey, they're using their imagination.
Yeah, they are. They were definitely using their imagination. Has sort of like grown into like basically an umbrella under which all these different stories and all these different genres can be told. It's
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, as a person who doesn't watch a whole lot, but has
We
seen
can
like,
fix that, Jake.
I know.
we can help you.
We can help you.
There's a 12-step program to get you into anime.
Into anime. But like, and I guess I could be seen more as a pleb, but like the Ghibli movies. Like I like a lot of the Ghibli films. I think a lot of them are extremely well made. And when you look at them from like, when you're analyzing them in general, like from a film perspective, they're really, really great. And they're just good movies, good stories.
Good stories.
Yeah.
Especially coming from the differences in culture from Japan and the US even. They're still easy enough to follow. You understand like their lore and why they believe some of those things. For example, Spirited Away, right? It's not complicated or convoluted or hard to understand what the hell's going on. It's pretty straightforward. You can understand. And like you said, the production's just top notch.
Top notch.
The cross-cultural appeal of anime, that's another thing that's quite remarkable about it, because not only is anime's popularity growing in the West, anime has been popular in Latin America for quite some time now.
Yep.
This tells you something. Like it was like a month ago or something. A coworker of mine was telling me about like a Mexican cartel that like called themselves the Z's because they were inspired by Dragon Ball Z's.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
And then
that sounds like a Gen Z cartel.
and then like a couple, and then like a week later, like I saw a Babylon Bee headline. So it wasn't real, but it was one of those like, it pretty much hit the nail on the head.
Right.
It was like, cartels cease production agree to cease production for one day in honor of the passing of Akira Toriyama.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you brought that up. But I think you touch on an interesting thing there, David, like the cross culture of it all. And I mean, we see like even Hollywood movies be heavily inspired by anime. I mean, I have a few listed here, like The Matrix. Obviously, you have like, obviously you know what their inspiration is.
Transformers.
Yeah, Transformers with Gundam inspiration. Yeah, and The Matrix specifically, like Ghost in the Shell, Akira.
Right.
Lots of examples there. You have Transformers. You have obviously the very apparent Gundam inspiration from all that. You have some stuff like Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan.
Yep.
By Darren Aronofsky, who actually owns the rights to Perfect Blue, which is what those films were kind of inspired by. Which I did not know that. He bought it for $60,000, the rights to that film.
Dang, what a steal.
I know. And now he owns it. So I also have a fun one like Oban Star Racers, if you've ever heard of that one. It's more of a French studio animation.
I've not.
But it's like they, I think it was two writers in France wanted to create this, and they partnered with a studio in Japan who did the animation. And it was just a fun like kids anime. Went on for 2 seasons. It was on Jetix like 15 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
And so I actually grew up watching. It was really good, and it's just like the more French kind of like creation, which was cool. But then you have stuff like Genndy Tartakovsky, like the guy who created Samurai Jack, the guy who did Dexter's Lab. Stuff heavily is inspired by like Gundam and samurais and all that good stuff. And then you have Inception, the movie, Christopher Nolan movie, Paprika, man. Like it's nearly like the same movie almost in a lot of ways, but then one more I'll just say is maybe just Ruby in general, like from Rooster Teeth. Like it's just in general an homage to the love of anime.
No, that is definitely an homage to anime.
Mm-hmm. Seems like you have an example, Frankie, you wanted to bring up.
No.
But like, and you also have like people from Japan heavily inspired Hollywood. Stuff like that. I mean, you couldn't have Star Wars without Akira Kurosawa. You couldn't. Like in that inspiration. You could, I guess, but it'd be just in a far different form, I would say, and style. You also have Osamu Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy and Kimba the White Lion.
Yep.
And through that, he inspired so many more people, and then
and not just in anime. I mean,
not just in anime.
Astro Boy kind of Mega Man. I mean,
Mega
the
Man.
basis of Mega Man. So.
And not just anime, like culturally in general.
Yeah.
And it leaked over to the West too.
Yeah.
I have a few other names here. I have Akira Toriyama, of course, like we've already mentioned. I don't think there's anything that needs to be said with him. It's very apparent. You know, Dragon Ball, Chrono Trigger, just his style in general. Did you see the trailer for the new Sandland game?
I have.
Did
really
you watch
excited.
the Sandstorm trailer?
I did not.
Oh, they take Sandstorm, Daruto Sandstorm, and they put it to this game that's based off Sandland coming out.
Yeah.
It's a baller trailer.
The game looks cool, and I saw that there was a limited series for it too, prior to the launch of the game, and it is on my list.
Yeah.
You know, my really, really long list.
Really,
of watching
long list.
to watch type stuff.
And we've already mentioned the guy, his creations, but I apologize for the pronunciation, but it's Satoshi Kon, the guy who created Perfect Blue, Paprika, you know, things we already mentioned, but a Millennium Actress. Like his inspiration or his creations went on to just, I mean, you can see it even today, I would say, in a lot of the films he made. So, but that's what I have for that. But I think it's unique because, and and the reason why I'm kind of like our audience on Snarp Fangle here probably doesn't watch a whole lot of anime.
They're gonna.
But they're gonna. You're gonna convert them, Frankie.
Yep.
But like, I would just attest to say that in terms of anime, I watched a great video today by Daryl Talks Games on YouTube. He talks mostly video games and psychology and video games. And he did a video called How Anime Portrays Collective Anxiety, which is basically like, why is anime the way it is and why does it make sense? And I highly recommend people search that video out. Daryl Talks Games is the guy's name. And it was so fascinating to just watch that and to see basically what makes like Eastern animation or anime kind of tick, and how the manifestations of things we see here in the West in media we create, like, for example, there's a bad guy. Oh, he represents the evil in the movie.
Right.
Let's go take him down. Like say an Eastern, if you say the Eastern side of things in an anime or a movie, you see, oh, there's this darkness inside of you. Let it be anxiety or depression or all this stuff, loneliness. And it kind of manifests in its own way. I think Death Note's a good example of this. You have basically these creatures in this other world, which could be seen as many different things. And that's kind of like that manifestation. Or, and a lot of anime does this. They'll like Persona 5 in the game.
Right.
That is where you take stuff like we already said, like depression, anxiety, and it kind of manifests in its own way as you go into the person's mind, into their dreams, in that kind of sense.
Right.
So, but I think those are the two examples I would give of why people don't get anime. Like, I've, sorry to call him out. David, your brother's a perfect example. Matt, he's been to many a Toonami Tuesday night when we've had it here at the house. And God bless him, he stayed through Promare, Frankie.
Okay.
And you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and like the ending and the kiss and all that. Like,
Yeah.
I'll tell the story later, but like, like he was willing to give stuff a shot, and I really appreciate that. But he would tell me like, I don't get it, or something to that extent. And we all know people like that who just don't get it. But I think just I don't know. What do you think the reason is? Why do people not get it? What do you think? Like, what would you say to a person? Like, kind of like what you're doing with Nicole. Like, you're showing her stuff. And
I think, in my experience, how's that? We'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
in
your experience. Yeah.
I think it's a lot more closed-mindedness. Something akin to like something made in the U.S. or something made in China. Like, so someone would rather just buy something made in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
I think that's my experience as to why, because the people that have been hesitant or resistant to watching anime, you know, and you strap them to a chair and make them watch it type deal.
Like you do.
Yeah, like I do. Very sweetly. I'm very good at it. Yeah. But they end up going, oh, I didn't know this would be that cool. And so I think a lot of it is just a lot of social and cultural reservations. So I think that's the biggest hurdle. And being considered a weeb if you're watching anime, but that is not always the case. Because like we've already said and kind of smacked that horse to death, is there's something for everybody. And there is a wide plethora of categories and genres and subgenres of stuff to watch. So you can tickle that fancy. And I think that's the biggest hurdle, is someone just kind of breaking in and not feeling like a nerd because they're watching anime. I mean, there is darker, more adult type anime. And you can't say that, well, it's a cartoon. I know people that say that and watch South Park.
Exactly.
So,
Yes.
I mean, or Family Guy, and you're just like, okay, but you won't watch anime because it's anime.
Yeah. It's like,
I don't get it. And that's the only thing I can relate it to is some sort of like, but that's for nerds. You know what I mean? Some sort of social or cultural reservations.
Yeah. David, what do you think? What, in your opinion, why don't people get anime?
I would have to agree with Frankie on that. It's just and you know, part of it too is like it's really being that anime is a product of the culture of Japan and the culture of Asia in general, as opposed to the West. Some people just, you know, that's just kind of a strange foreign thing to them. And a lot of people, when if they finally sit down and watch it, will be like, oh, I didn't know this could be, this could be actually cool, but there's going to be people who just, the cross-cultural thing just doesn't translate very well for them, regardless of whether they're willing to actually give it a shot or not,
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to kind of, this kind of stuff fascinates me, like the difference culturally of why, not like people won't accept certain things, or they just look at it and they're like, that's kind of weird. And to be fair, there's a lot of weird. There's a lot of weird in it.
There's a lot of weird, yeah.
Yeah, like I was even just scrubbing through some of like that stuff like Chelsea recommended to me that I was scrubbing through, and I'm like, I mean, I could, like, it doesn't bother me, but I could see, like, if I showed it to somebody who's not familiar with or hasn't watched anime, I'm gonna be like, they would think this is pretty weird. Like, I'm not even talking about like the concept of isekai or anything, which is like, into another world. That's totally understandable. But like, just like some of the tropes, as people would say,
running
I think
with
it's kind of a
toast
barrier.
in your mouth.
What?
Running with toast in your mouth.
Oh, yeah,
you bump into your true love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I totally get what you're saying here. No. Anyway, but yeah, it's. I think it's part of a few different things, and some of the things I kind of gathered here is you have the Western culture, right, and the Western civilization that we live in America, and over here it's very individualistic.
Right.
It's very focused on self, and it came from, say, Judeo-Christian values of being selfless. But kind of in the more secular kind of way in the West, it kind of turned into focusing on yourself and kind of making sure you're healthy and that kind of thing, and focusing on the inward. Versus in Japan, it's kind of more.
It is a very societal collectivist mentality, like for the better of everybody. For I'm going to put on a mask if I'm sick. I'm going to not talk very loud in the subway, or even talk at all in the subway. Like, people don't take time off because you're burdening your coworkers type deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the common courtesy. Your brother's
or if you
keeper.
do take time off, you bring back your coworkers that helped you presents, or it's usually like a snack or a treat or something.
Yeah, like a good common courtesy, and just focused on that. Like, there's that aspect of the culture that it's coming from. But you also have, like, say, in the East, there's also Buddhism as well, and which is all over anime from a lot of different creators. And that is also another form of, because you have like good morals and stuff that we're used to, generally, but you also have the non-self, in quotes, from like the Buddhist side of things,
right? Which
and just all the mythology that has to do with Japan and all the inspirations that people can draw from that when they're creating anime. For me, it's fascinating because it's an entirely different kind of thing.
Right.
But it's also, I think, the reason why, and I say tropes, in quote, but some of these are actually not tropes into that category. They're kind of archetypes, which I can see as in a positive way, like the isekai, or something that could be, the hero's journey, but translated in the Eastern form, the samurai, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Like, cultural boundaries, crossing them.
It's one of those things that I think is kind of bizarre, and it's weird where we draw those lines, because I like that you brought up Buddhism, and you have a whole group of people here, just let's say in the U.S., they're very Buddhist, or take parts of Buddha and pretend they're Buddhist. I don't know, but you know what I mean. And then you have people that are into the whole feng shui and the spirits within all objects type thing, right? You go into Shintoism and stuff like that, and so the layout of your home, right? Especially if you're into like home couture and culture and stuff like that and design, right? That kind of stuff permeates into those cultures as well. But then you have people that are like, oh, anime is weird because it has those things in them, those things we don't understand, or those tropes. I'm going to steal that from you for a second.
No, go for it.
But it just is weird to me. And I'm born and raised here in California. So, but like how someone or groups of people are like, oh, well, that's weird, but I'm going to borrow this stuff from their culture. And so I think it's kind of funny where you just have random lines in the sand.
I mean, but that's how the way people are, you know?
True.
We as humans like to compartmentalize, put different pieces of our lives into different places. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So I guess the reason I give that is just because, again, it's a different culture, and it's much more than just that. There's more nuance to it.
I mean, to be fair, it's not just like a little different. It's like a lot different.
A lot different.
You know, it's kind of funny how in the West, the sort of like breaking out of your family's expectations of you, that kind of thing isn't really a popular storytelling trope anymore. Kind of Disney beat that to death.
Right.
But then Pixar came out with what was that movie about periods?
What?
Turning Red.
Oh, Turning Red.
They came out with Turning Red that was specifically about that. And surprise, 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 it was all about a Chinese American family.
Right.
You know, so it's like, so Japan and Asia in general still hasn't quite crossed over into full on individualism like the West has. So so things that make a lot of sense and like from the perspective of Asian culture don't make a lot of sense to someone who's been sort of like fully individualized over here. And then you have things that are just like, I mean, we have kind of this problem in certain sectors of our society, but not nearly to the same degree, where you literally have a term in Japanese for death from overwork.
Right.
You know, like that's not something most Americans or Westerners are familiar with.
Right. They're going to take a sabbatical from work and, mental health day or something.
Yeah.
Medical leave for 3 months and then come back to work.
Yeah. It's like, there's a lot. We got a lot of issues over here, you know? And even though we think that things are different, I think in another country doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but also like we kind of like I was touching on earlier, how it's more focus on the inward kind of thing here in the individualistic society. Yep. I feel like it's kind of turned into a more selfish society in a lot of ways.
Yeah, this is why we can't have an Autobahn type road in the U.S. because motherfudgers. Sorry, it really makes me mad. If you're going even if you're going the speed limit, get in the right damn lane.
Right lane. If you
this
got
is
a
why
trailer,
I can't have a road that goes 120 miles an hour because you don't want to share the damn road. I know we totally went off base.
Oh no, I was dealing with that this morning. I'm like, God, get in the right lane. Oh, yeah. So, but that doesn't mean that I would say some of the values that they hold in Japan that are like good morals are bad. In fact, I feel like some of the like translation into anime and into the West that we've seen from different media forms are like I'd say good lessons to learn.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of good things to learn in that culture, I would say.
There are.
Did
you know, and I first experienced this in anime, and I've since watched, I like Paolo in Tokyo. He's a content creator on YouTube that does
Oh,
like a day in the
yeah.
life of someone not Japanese living in Japan.
I've heard
Okay.
this guy. Yeah.
And so some of the things that you learn from these types of content creators, or your first experience might be in anime, is they do have a lot of expectations is the wrong word.
Let's see. What's the word?
They are very courteous to others, almost to a fault. Like
Yeah.
when you're walking, if you decide to take a phone call, you move out of the middle of the sidewalk. You go up against like the building so that you aren't in the way of other people. Things that they do is always, how will someone else perceive them? How will someone else be affected, essentially? And that's that whole society as a whole mentality. But those are, I think, good things, because here in the US, you know, I try and be like, oh, excuse me. But I know that a lot of people don't do that for me, and I want to punch them in the neck because they're rude. Everybody's selfish around here.
Oh yeah.
I didn't actually learn this from anime. I learned this from British television, Top Gear specifically.
Gotta love Top Gear.
Gotta love Top Gear.
Good old Top Gear. But yeah, I learned from watching Top Gear that they don't take too kindly to you talking on your phone on the subway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the person walking around Walmart on speakerphone so that you could hear the whole damn conversation.
Yep.
Well, also like trash cans too. Like there's no trash cans in public from what I've understood, right? Or very little, to the point of you kind of just keep your trash with you, and if you find one, you just throw it away there.
Yep.
Yeah, and typically you like clean up before you leave, like a restaurant. The tipping thing, I'm actually going to the other side on this one.
Okay.
I agree that people shouldn't be tipped. It's part of your job. I am an American and I did work for food service, and I did appreciate the tips. Do not get me wrong there. But if you just paid the worker a little bit more, they wouldn't rely on the tips, and it wouldn't be, because you do get bad tips bad
Or no
service.
tips at all.
Yeah, and you do get bad service both from the customer and from the employee. And I think that it's just one of those things that continues to perpetuate bad behaviors in society, because your job is to provide that service. And you should do it good because it's your job, not because you're expecting some sort of handout at the end. And the US is one of the few countries that actually does tips.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that. Huh.
Like in France, you might tip someone in the hospitality business, but you wouldn't typically tip someone, say, at like a cafe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But like in Japan, you don't tip at all.
Really? Dang.
Yeah, it's actually rude to tip.
Oh.
Not that there aren't westernized establishments that I'm sure where it still happens, and I'm sure that they're grateful that they get a tip, but it's one of those things like, no, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, it depends on a more generous society in general.
Right.
The whole concept of tipping. And I just find it, it's just interesting to think about, because it might actually work better in a place like Japan. But in the cultural side of things, it's just looked down upon because what's the reason they give? Do you know? I mean,
it's the expectation that
the expectation. Okay,
what's
gotcha.
already expected of them. And I think that may actually provide better service. And I don't know what the difference in pay is. So obviously I don't live or work in Japan, but.
Well, also you look at the fast food industries in America. I mean, there's tipping as an option in a lot of them, but they're never advertising it at all.
Right.
Like at all. So it's kind of already there if you're only, in the fast food joints or whatever.
Right. And so, I mean.
So when are you going to run in for Congress, Frankie?
Like I said, nobody wants my opinion.
Well, we value your opinion on here. You're
like
to
get
have
a lot of
around,
hate
sir.
mail, so you better.
Nah, that's all good. We already got them. We got a box full of letters, sir. And one of them had smoke coming out of it, apparently. The other day. So, but no, I think in terms of tipping, it's an interesting conversation to have.
I think it was a good idea. That's kind of run away from what it was used for originally, or
like you would go into maybe one of the other states, eastern, southern of the U.S., and you're getting $4 an hour back in the day,
right?
And then you're just mostly relying on tips,
right?
It's like, what the heck? Okay.
They were at or below federal minimum wage in states, and those were a way to supplement that, and that is a good idea. That is a great way, and then someone that is willing to go above and beyond to get a decent tip to help supplement what their income is great. When you walk into a coffee shop and Brenda, made up name, okay, just something I thought of.
You're not calling
It's
anybody out here.
Yeah, no. It's just like, oh, how can I help you? And they kind of give you attitude, and you still feel pressured to give them some sort of tip. Or you go to a restaurant and your waiter makes you wait 25 minutes just to get the glass of water and place your order, and they're not that busy.
Mhm.
Like, our society says you should be tipping because you're at a restaurant.
Mm.
And I'm one of those people who I'll leave a small tip even if it wasn't good service. I mean, it has to be really bad service for me.
Yeah,
not to tip.
yeah, same.
Um,
I'm kind of the
and
same
so-
in mine. Like I'll leave something, I guess, like $1 or
right.
10%
And like
or whatever.
Hannah went to Greece when she graduated high school, and she's like, they don't tip there, and she doesn't tip almost ever. Like someone has to have stellar customer service to get a tip from her. So that's one of those things I think more as me trying to be polite to others and societal expectations. I always tip, but I don't believe in tipping. It's a horrible gimmick.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing is that tipping is one of the few cultural things in America that might give us some connection with Eastern culture because we have this ingrained obligation to tip people at a restaurant.
Yeah. To
For
be
just-
nice, you know.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Even if they're providing absolutely mediocre service, sometimes you're like, why would I tip this person? But you still feel bad if you don't.
Right.
It's like this obligation that you just have to do it for no reason in particular.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting how that's kind of the only thing I can think of in our culture specifically where we have that kind of obligation from the rest of society that's pushing us into a certain course of action. Because in other things, we're
Selfish.
very, very
Self-centered,
selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, I kind of think of it just I haven't really thought a whole lot about tipping culture, but I have thought of some of it. But thinking about it now, I kind of am more inclined to tip person who's like going to clean my car out than bring me a food or bring me some drink or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if they're going to go out of their way and I'm paying them, of course, to go clean this or to wash my car or whatever, I'm totally more inclined to tip that than it is just bringing me food, to be honest.
Right.
I don't know why that is, but just in my mind, that's how it might make sense. But yeah, I think you're right, David. There's an interesting correlation. It's weird how it was a tangent. of
Yeah,
tipping,
this is super tangent,
but
but
it
it
kind
still
of
connects.
fits. Yeah, it connects, and it'd be interesting to see more of that in the U.S. in general. I mean, what was it in Big Hero 6? San Francisco?
Yeah,
is what it's called.
San Fran, Tokyo.
Like, San Fran, Tokyo? Yeah. Like, could you imagine a society that has more, I guess, Eastern values implemented into it? But would that clash with? Well, absolutely will. But how would it clash with, the Judean Christian values and that what this country was built on and the, all that stuff we don't have to get into. But anyway, it's just
I was
interesting.
gonna say, when you take another step down this road, it's gonna get real political.
Yeah.
real
Well, while
fast.
we're on tangents, can I tell you a story, you two gentlemen? And David, I don't know if you were there. I don't think you were, but I was going to tell you the premiere story. So here we go. So during the pandemic, I started a thing called Toonami Tuesday Nights because I found out there was some pretty cool stuff that I'd like to show other people. That's anime, whether it be a movie or a series, or we watch a couple episodes, and it was every Tuesday night. Kind of like the worst night to do it, but it fit the name, so I kind of stuck with it. And you were at one, Frankie, you were at multiple, David. It was like a good time, good food, good whatever, it was a good time to just get together and have some fun during quarantine and stuff like that. So I did for like a year and a half or whatever. And then one night, this was very early when we were doing it, we were watching Promare. And for those who aren't aware, Promare is kind of a homage and complementary movie to how would I describe it, Frankie? The Gundam genre or the hero genre in anime? Or
Yeah, I would.
it was like
say.
an homage to that. And as it was also an homage, it kind of leaned into a lot of really crazy tropes, but with different takes on them. So in the end of the movie, we're on that couch. It was me, Matt, and Corey. And we were on that couch and we were watching the end of this film. And we were all very invested. We were very excited to see what the end of this was going to be. We were watching the dub. And I felt so bad because so somebody came that night with their girlfriend. It was like the first public outing of them as boyfriend and girlfriend. And it was like, it was a weird situation because we were watching this anime movie, Promare. and they're like, "What are we watching? What is this?" And they just, I invited them over. And so anyway, we're me, Corey, and Matt are on the couch. They're sitting on the other couch, and we're all sitting down and watching this film. And at the very end, they really lean into the trope, I would guess you would call it, of the hero kisses the love interest or whatever.
Right.
Except in this movie, they're making kind of fun of it in a way because it's the male villain and the hero main character who get to kiss each other, and it's really like impactful and emotional. And we kind of just bust out laughing when it happened. But when they were going to lean in for the kiss, we're like, no. And I look over to Matt and he's like, no, they're not going to do it, are they? And I was like, I think they're going to do it. And then like Corey doesn't know what's happening. He's like, what? And then we're like, they kiss and and then we're like, whoa! And the whole room goes like, oh my God, it happened. And of course, the Katies were over there like, oh my God, it happened. Like, so amazing. And it was just one of the most memorable nights of Toonami Tuesday night. And it was just very memorable, I'll say, and very funny. So it was just a very weird knack of delinquents together having a good time. So
We'll say anime has a lot of typical tropes and archetype stories, and there are those ones that just like to make fun of them.
Yep.
And they throw in those, I know something goofy's gonna happen, but I'm not entirely sure it's gonna be. And then they just kind of slap you in the face at the end of it. It's kind of great. They typically make it just great.
And like in that movie specifically, it was like a thoroughly enjoyable movie. I love it a lot. It was a great film. But yeah, that happened and I was like, this is so funny and like just hilarious. Like, and it was a good story. Like, and you cared about him. So yeah, it was interesting. So anyway, I just wanted to share that story with you guys and the audience out there. So yeah, it was Toonami's Tuesday Nights was interesting. But we watched the Lupin movie one night. The very first one that Hayao Miyazaki directed. That one. And that was a really fun time. And we watched the original dub, not the new crappy one.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any crazy stories with anime before we jump into our next section here? Crazy viewings, crazy parties, just fun stories of your reaction to a certain series or movie? If not, no worries.
I don't think I have anything super crazy. There was like when Demon Slayer came out, right? And I worked at build.com. And so like my best friend, he's super into anime. He's from the Bay Area. I have another friend who was like, we're all talking about, there's like 5 of us. So like we're all at our own houses texting each other. Like, did you watch the last episode? Are y'all caught up? Right. And so you get to like, I think it's like episode 14. I will say it's just when it gets epic. And we're just like, did you just effing see that? And of course it's in the group chat and everybody kind of like texted it almost simultaneously. It was like, what the heck just happened? Oh my God. Did you see the first form? And he like does you're just like, we're all on the same wavelength right here. This just got epic.
Oh man. Oh, David, do you have any other examples like that?
Nothing.
Even when you watch
crazy.
the end of Death Note, and you watch all the way through.
I don't think I ever got to the end of Death Note.
What?
Yeah, weird as
we should finish it together. Because I remember we started.
It's a good series. But
Hey, I want to chime in because we're talking about older animes. Black Butler is actually just started this season. Okay, this spring season they have a new arc, and it is the public school arc. And so I have been rewatching Black Butler. Sorry to like cut in on your Death Note there.
No, it's fine.
But talk about old animes, and it's a good one to watch. So if you haven't watched Black Butler,
that's one I've never seen either.
It is cheesy and good at the same time. Like it's purposely cheesy for the pure laughs. That's
the pure laughs.
Pure laughs.
That's great. Not a rom-com, is it? It's not.
No, it's a little.
It's a little bit like has a taste of it.
There are mini arcs within it. There is like a love interest, but OCL isn't really interested kind of thing. And I'm trying not to ruin it for anybody that will take this recommendation because I'm pushing it pretty heavily.
Yeah, guys, watch Black Butler.
Watch Black Butler.
What year did that come? Was that like 2000s or 90s or?
I feel like it was like 98, 99. Okay. And I did not watch it when it came out. I will be 100% honest. This is something I watched later, but still thoroughly enjoyed. And it's good. I think there's one of the Reapers is a them they. and so he's very ambiguous, or she,
androgynous, or
yeah.
whatever the word is. Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny because is in love with OCL's butler, right? Who's like one of the main characters, and he's just like disinterested, but not in like a derogatory way. He's just like, I don't know why you keep doing
Yeah,
this.
he's like, "Hey, what are you doing, man?"
Yeah, but there are like those mini little arcs for rom-com type stuff, but overall there's a little bit more action. I would say it's probably like action and slice of life, which is kind of contradictory, but it's what it's doing.
Hey,
So
it's a good mixture.
yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of recommendations, Frankie
Uh-oh.
and David, like for those who are familiar with the weebery, and I don't know why I keep bringing that up. What are weebs, guys? Is it just people who are into hentai or not? Like, what are they? Like, is it just a derogatory term?
From my
People who like
understanding,
anime or
a weeaboo
Yeah,
is someone who is interested in Japanese culture to an unhealthy degree.
Yes.
Sounds like a textbook answer if I ever heard one.
Yes.
David.
I wouldn't put David in that classification, unfortunately. I might slightly fall in that category.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Well, like,
Weeb is one of those terms that I think most people. It used to be like more
it was
derogatory
a slur. It was when you called
than
somebody
it is
weeb,
now.
yeah.
I think most of the time now it's just thrown around as a joke.
Yeah.
Because I've described myself as a weeb
Yes.
a couple of times when, according to the actual definition of what would constitute that, no. No, I definitely like anime, but I'm not. There's no unhealthy interest in Japanese culture in general for me.
Shout out to the Jacob and Katie Bailey, who would come like every week to Tsunami Tuesday night. They were straight up weebs. I'm calling them out right now. You guys out there, if you're listening to this, you guys are weebs. Like, it was cool because they were like super obsessed with like all the voice actors, so that was kind of cool.
I will say that I do have voice actors that I'm like, they're in this.
And
Doesn't even what role they play. They're like character B. They're like a sub character, and you're just like, they just made this that much better.
They just made that better, and that's why that's not what I would constitute as a weeb. And they were just obsessed with anime in general. But they would watch some weird stuff. Some of the stuff they were telling me about, I'm like,
There's
what?
Just like
You're watching that?
Well,
just
they
like
were
there's
weird people.
Yeah.
Still are, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Just like
No, we
there's
love you guys.
the dark webs, there's the dark animes.
There's the dark animes. Oh man. So, but speaking of like recommendations, like we've had, what would you recommend? A recommendation for the familiar, or a few, and some for the unfamiliar. Like, what would it be for you two? Like, what would you recommend to somebody like we've established, like Nicole,
Right.
who, or like I would probably like if I were to sit my dad down and I would have him watch something.
I feel like
know-
I've
what would
caught
you
your
show
dad
them?
watching anime before.
Like the girls would watch it and he would just sit in and just be like in the living room, living there,
No,
and be
I'm
like,
pretty sure he was invested.
Which one was it? Do you know?
I don't remember. He looked like he was intently watching.
He was
it,
intently
though.
watching.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But David, let's start with you. What would be one you'd recommend to the familiar who are familiar with anime, and ones who are unfamiliar with the anime?
Let's see. So,
What do you got?
familiar to the familiar,
Mm-hmm.
my recommendation would probably be, if you can find it.
High School DxD.
If you can find it, my recommendation would be the season 1 of Darker Than Black.
Oh yeah,
That one's one of those darker ones too. Hence it's in the title. But
yeah.
I have not actually seen that. So he did recommend it to a familiar. And we did watch it. Yeah. And it's that one's pretty dark. It was good.
It's good,
But
yeah.
it's one of the darker, more adult anime. So underage.
Just so y'all know,
Or you're a
yeah.
little protective of your children's minds. Please do not let them watch that. But it is good.
Yeah, very good. I remember he showed me a couple episodes, and this is good stuff. So, but what about the unfamiliar, David?
As far as unfamiliar goes, my go-to when introducing someone to anime is usually not a show or a series, but Miyazaki films.
Ooh, yeah.
I kind of feel like they have a more broad appeal. So like, there's plenty of real cutesy Miyazaki films, and they're all great to their own degree. But the one I would recommend to, like a more serious one, that's maybe not so cutesy, not so.
I think I know what it is.
Would be Princess Mononoke.
Oh,
Princess Mononoke is top tier.
It's something that I feel like people in general could enjoy, but also at the same time, it kind of draws you into a more Easternish world and character type thing without beating you over the head with Japanese weirdness.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I want to poke at that one though, okay? Because I did try to collect all the Ghibli movies before, and I probably have like 12 out of 18, so I did pretty good.
You did pretty good.
Yeah, and HBO has them all now. So if you have HBO Max, you can watch all of them. They're great for the whole family.
Oh, dude.
Arrietty, I'm going to piggyback off of you, is really good. It's like The Borrowers.
Yeah.
Disney
It is The Borrowers. Yeah.
Disney owns Ghibli now. And
really?
Yeah. So like,
wait.
I'm pretty sure they own Studio Ghibli.
No.
Yeah. I could be wrong, so don't quote me.
But I'm look this up later.
I'm pretty sure one of the Western studios actually owns them now. But yeah, totally makes sense. Like Porco Rosso has Brad Pitt is like the main character.
Oh, Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
Michael Keaton. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool. It is a very easy way to get into something, especially like as an American, we can like go, oh, I know who that actor is, right? Just to like ease into it. So that is a great recommendation.
Nice. So Frankie, what do you got for us?
So Anime Pro Seasoned Vet.
What do you chat with? What do you throw? What recommendation are you throwing to them in Crunchyroll or Kiss Anime? Like, what's going on?
Actually, okay, this is for a very seasoned pro, and I don't think there is any way currently legal to watch it. So you're gonna have to watch on. They actually shut down Zoro.io, which is what I watched it on, but they reopened a whole nother website. And I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, you can find it. Yeah, Google's your friend.
Oh Great Lord, Spare Me is a Chinese anime.
Ooh,
and it is freaking good.
Say it again. What's the title?
Oh Great Lord, Spare Me.
Oh Great Lord, Spare Me.
Yeah,
okay.
it's really cool. I'm not gonna attempt to explain the whole storyline and setup, but it is really good. The animation is AAA. It's really well done. If you pay attention to the story is really well done. If I remember correctly, it was like a last minute team that was thrown together to subtitle it. Oh. It kind of feels like they use Google Translate.
Ooh,
so there's some weird things because in Chinese.
Oh, it's in Chinese. Okay. Yeah.
There isn't like a him or her when you're pronouns.
Oh, yeah,
and so they say his, but it's like someone talking to a girl.
Yeah, talking to a girl.
It's like one of those weird things. Huh. But it is really good.
You could probably find a fan dub somewhere.
Yeah.
Fan sub, I should say.
Yeah, it's super easy to find online. Honestly, you could just Google it and find one of the sites that let you watch it for free.
Yeah, there you go.
Super good though. But intro, someone new.
Yeah, like you said, Ariadne, but do you have that one or a different one? Maybe?
I would still
give me a
I've
show.
had more
give me
success.
Give me a show, Frankie.
With Snow White with the red hair.
Okay.
Because it has that small little bit of cutesy rom-com sprinkled in, so like you can literally, and it's not overbearing to where the guys don't want to watch it. But it's enough of like, oh, that guy's gonna get the girl type deal. You know what I mean? And then there's the fighting and the action. The prince gets poisoned like relatively early on. The one prince is trying to kill the main character and like kidnap her. So there's a whole lot of complexities going on.
This sounds serious.
Yeah.
It sounds like Game of Thrones level stuff.
But it's
no, I'm joking.
It's lighter. It's lighter.
It's lighter.
Than that. Yeah. And so I mean, pretty much all the people, Nicole, that have gotten into it. But like I have other friends like Amelia watched it.
Oh yeah.
I got Amelia watching anime too. She will not admit it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, she would admit it. Yeah.
And then like, my old coworker, the other assistant manager when I was at TJ, I got her watching it. And that it's a proven good intro.
It's a proven good intro. There you go. We have data here, people.
But another one I think would be Tanaka Kuna's Listless. It's very slice of life. So it's one of those things you can kind of just chill and watch. And this guy, and going back to the societal expectations, right? For me, it was weird watching it. It's a slice of life comedy because of Japan being about the community or society as a whole and how everybody attributes to that. And this is about this one kid who just like is always no energy, doesn't want to do anything. And everybody just kind of accepts him as like furniture in the classroom, so to speak.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's hilarious because like his best friend's like, oh, he's like, I ran out of energy. And he gets like super monotone. And his best friend just like picks him up and carries him around. And then they like reanimate him kind of like chibi. And for people who don't know what that is, it's very small, cutesy, stylizing of something.
And that's not a trope. That's just a style and a thing that happens.
Yeah. So, but they draw him all chibi. And so he's all like just different. And it's great. It's a good laugh.
Well, that's cute. Yeah. What's that one called?
Tanaka Kuna's Listless.
Tanaka Kuna's Listless.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's see. For the familiar, I would just have to say, I mean, probably Pluto, like on Netflix. Like, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I'm not that guy. I mean,
Can't steal my role.
Huh?
You can't steal my role.
Can't steal your role.
I'm the guy that watches all the anime.
Yeah, I can't steal it. No. Chelsea might have you beat though. She like constantly.
Is this a challenge? Because I like a challenge.
Okay, so we need to have you both on next time you're on here, and we need to go, battle of the weebs, like that's what needs to happen. Yeah. But we need to get another mic for that, but we'll get there eventually. But anyway, I would say Pluto for the familiar because like most recently too, I'm very fascinated with AI and what the future holds and that kind of thing. And this gives you a really unique look at what might happen or potentially. Like there's a whole war that happens that they explain before the series starts. Nice. And then as they go through the series, explain what happened, and all the people who were leaders in that war are now getting eliminated. And it's really cool concept. And this detective's trying to figure out who's killing all these guys and where all this powerful like attacks are coming from and what jobs these war generals and leaders are doing now after the war. One's a detective, one's a wrestling like leader. One's like, are you okay, David? You're giving me like weird eyes.
No.
Okay, good. I thought you were gonna give me anime eyes for a second. I was like, what? No. But anyway, it's really cool to see, and the writing's really good, and the dub's not bad. I like the dub like a lot, and dubs don't really bother me, and this one's totally fine. There's no like anything super like egregiously translated in it, I would say, but super, super good for the familiar. I would also say unfamiliar too, but for the unfamiliar, I would honestly say Cowboy Bebop. Like that is like my most favorite anime I've seen so far, and I haven't seen everything, but I would just say, like, I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times through, and it's 26 episodes total. So it's not a whole lot you could, like, Pluto's 8, so there's like, that's like nothing. But to get you more used to like the length of a normal anime for a series, I would say go to Cowboy Bebop and just give it a shot for the first couple episodes. Once you hit 4, it like, whoa, you're like kind of blown away at some points. And I would just highly recommend that because it's also kind of appealing to more of the Western kind of thing. Picture it like, for the audience, picture more of like, it's like Firefly in a sense, where you have this crew. It's kind of like a Western and a sci-fi mixed together. It takes place in like 21 something in the future. And it's like, there's space truckers, there's bounty hunters. It's like the Wild West in space. And it's good. And good characters that you really care about. Every episode's unique and different plots. And you watch the characters go through hills and valleys. And it just ends with a finale that's just super intriguing. So
it's kind of funny. I mean, I guess I'm really no better, talking about Ghibli movies, but like, I think it's funny that your recommendation to the anime noob is is basically the anime that broke through to the Western audience.
Well, I think it's a time and a place thing for that one specifically. It was 97, 98
right
when it came over here. And I mean, right after, literally, what year was Firefly? Like 2002, 1, something like that? Or 3?
Somewhere in that ballpark?
Yeah, somewhere in that ball. Like it's a cool concept. And like Firefly even accentuates that, like why it was a cool concept. And I think it's done better, obviously, here in Cowboy Bebop. You don't have Nathan Fillion or some other people, but who cares? You got Spike Spiegel, man. You got Faye Valentine. You got, his name's Jet, by the way, not Chet. I thought it was Chet. Jet Black is his name. And the little girl, I can't remember her name, but you only have 4 or 5 characters to follow.
Right.
And you have these like misadventures, and they're lovable and they're dorky, and they're also interesting. You learn about their past and all that. So
Only here, Jake, did I have an epiphany.
okay.
Because I remember when someone was trying to get me back into anime, so to speak, right? Outside of like Toonami after school. And I remember some of the stuff that they gave me as recommendations, right? As a fairly noob. And it was like Fooly Cooly, Toradora, Samurai Champloo, just all these random things.
Ones, yeah.
And not that they aren't good or they don't have their own merits, but it's just like if you stop and think about kind of the things, I will tailor my recommendations to what I know of someone.
Yeah, totally.
For sure. And if I don't know enough, I'll recommend something that I know is good and safe, like Snow White the Red Hair, right? But it's just one of those things. Those were not the recommendations given to me. These were pretty deep.
These were
deep
pretty
down the
deep
well.
down the well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was probably trying to think of stuff that would like hook you or something that you haven't seen before.
Right.
So maybe that's what he was thinking.
She.
Or she, whoever
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. It was funny. I have this as a side note. I have this folder I found in my an old hard drive that Chelsea gave me. Shout out to you, Chelsea. She gave me like Dr. Stone, the first 10 episodes, Dororo, yeah, Bakano. And I don't know why she put a Gretsuko in here. That was so weird. Like, I had no interest in that. She also did like a Paranoia Agent, which seems interesting, as well as Vinland Saga, which I hear is amazing.
First season is fantastic.
Yeah.
And this doesn't come out of my mouth very often. Do not watch it dubbed.
Really?
Normally, I am either way. I'm not one of those people like, oh, subbed is better than dubbed.
Yeah.
Right. It typically is whatever I started in, and I do have kids, so dubbed is usually easier to watch. I do not switch back and forth. Whenever I start,
you stick with it. Yeah.
Because you get used to someone having a little bit deeper baritone, a little bit grittier voice, and then you go to Japanese, and it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It is one of those ones that I did watch. I tried to get someone else to watch, so I put it dubbed, and I did not like it. It is not horrible, and I'm assuming that if I would have watched it dubbed first, it might have been okay. But
you know what's a good one if you like broke through the barrier and got through like one of our recommendations, and you're looking for something a little bit weirder. It's just weird, but it's really intriguing. Is Promised Neverland? Have you watched
Promised
this?
Neverland is great.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And it's like intriguing and scary.
Another little bit of a cult classic is Parasite. Parasite is amazing.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet. I can watch that.
I
There's
would
lots of stuff
recommend
to
it.
watch.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I wouldn't recommend it for kids. And not that I can remember anything other than some blood. It's not super inappropriate or anything like that, but it's good.
Yeah. Parasite.
High School DxD. For those deep down the well.
Deep down the well that we gotta, pull up every once in a
Is
while.
not appropriate for any age.
For any age.
For any age, yeah.
But it is hilarious. It is just hilarious. It's something
Thanks,
you can laugh
Jacob.
at. Yeah. Actually, okay, that was not a Jacob recommendation for anything. Me and Richard got Jacob to watch that.
What?
So I just want to be real.
Oh man.
That was why I actually got hooked on that Ranma 1/2 is because super pervy, super weird. Anime originally marketed for teenage girls, but it's pretty hilarious.
It's pretty hilarious. Yeah.
There was one that Jacob refused to let me pick any more animes, right? And Jacob isn't good at binge watching anything, so the fact that we put High School DxD with like 5 seasons, there's like 100 episodes, he was never going to finish it. I let him scroll through Funimation, and he's like, "Oh, we're going to watch this, right?" And of course, it was kind of like a tit for tat for watching High School DD, and I
Oh god.
think it was like called Keicho, and it's about sumo battles in swimsuits on platforms. Except they have like special moves.
Oh,
it was
special moves.
Yeah, it was horrible. He swears it's top tier, and I wouldn't say it was awful, but I was not the audience target for that one.
Yeah. And that's something we didn't get into, but yeah, there's also like the pervy stuff that's kind of weird and just
Fan service.
Fan service. Fan service.
That is the
yeah.
genre you're gonna call these is fan service.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's shonen, there's isekai, there's rom-coms, there's
and then there's
slice of life,
Slice
and then
of
there's
life.
fan service.
fan service.
And all the genres may have some fan service somewhere in there.
Exactly. Yeah. There's always going to be some kind of moment in that. I remember my buddy Josh, he was telling me about One Piece, and he's like, yeah, he said, I thought it wasn't going to get any fan service, and then I hit episode 49 and then 50, and then it got there was like a bath scene, and I was like, what? Whoa. And, that my American brain's like, I don't want to watch that. No. And then I'm enjoying my time with One Piece. It's a good time.
Fancer. That reminds me of the whole fracas that's happening over X-Men 97.
Oh,
all the people sharing the side-by-side screenshots of Rogue.
From the old series and the
from
new
the
series?
old series and the new series.
With her butt,
and the old series is just one specific frame out of the whole show, and it's just straight up dump. But then in the rest of the show, like it's not.
It's just that one shot.
It's just really that one frame.
Yeah.
But you have all these people like making a big deal out of it. And like, they took Rogue's booty away.
Oh my Jesus.
Well, I think that's actually a good point, David, because we say, oh yeah, anime's got fan service, there's pervy stuff. I could argue that Western animation, there's not a whole lot of that, but there's definitely places in there, especially some of the older series, like some of the way they would draw people's bodies and stuff, the guys and the girls, So there's stuff in both cultures, is what I'm saying. So anyway, gentlemen, is there any final words you have for our topic before we head off into the sunset on our pirate ship?
Don't be close-minded. Give it a try.
Yeah.
And if you're versed in anime or a seasoned pro, find something new.
Yeah, find something new. Maybe take one of our recommendations.
There's a lot out there. And like I said at the beginning of all this, it almost feels like there's a Streaming Wars 2.0. There's a lot of good stuff on Netflix, on Hulu, and that doesn't include something as dedicated as Crunchyroll. HBO has Ninja Kamui.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to branch out, and just because it's not on an anime service doesn't mean it won't be a good anime.
Would you say, sorry, side tangent, would you say was it called High Dive?
High Dive.
Is that like if you're really invested, you go to there and then it goes to Crunchyroll? Is that the kind of idea with it?
No.
This is the first I've heard of High Dive. I was just curious.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a relatively new service. I got it because I had Verve, which was part of Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
It is part of Crunchyroll.
It's Crunchyroll, yeah, part.
But I was watching a show with Tom, and
shout out to Tom.
Yeah, shout out to Tom. They took it off of there, and that was the only place it was. I guess they had paid for the rights, and so that's why it moved over. Crunchyroll had lost the rights to it, or its time expired or something. And so to finish something that we had already watched like 36 episodes of, and there was only 52, I got High Dive. And then found that there was a bunch of older anime that I'd seen on other things that I don't see anymore, or they had a couple exclusives like Made in the Abyss. So I've kind of just kept them ever since. They were originally $4.99, and I hate to regretfully say, but they've just raised their prices more on par. I think it's $9.99 for their service now.
Ouch.
But they have been adding more exclusives. They do have a good. One thing I will I appreciate is Funimation had like a whole dubcast section, or like a simuldub is what they had it TM'd as, is where you could watch stuff that was dubbed and like find it easy. High Dive has like a genre that you can click on in their search bar, and it is the dubcast is what they call theirs. But it's all the ones that are dubbed, so it makes it easier if you're getting into it and you're new and you want to start out listening and watching versus reading and watching. It does make it easier. I think Crunchyroll may have added it. I'm not entirely sure, and I know they do say dub and sub up at the top or next to the name, so you can identify it. But if you can scroll through all the English stuff, I'm pretty sure that'd make it easier for someone to break into something. And their app has gotten better since launch. I will say that because it was a little janky, but for $5, like you couldn't complain too much about it, and it worked really well in a web browser, like on.
Oh, good.
Yeah, like in
that's
Chrome.
actually my next question. Yeah.
But like as far as like the app on the TV, it was kind of janky, or on your phone, it was slightly better. But they've done some updates, and I think that's where that increased cost comes from. Is they're actually adding infrastructure to the service, so.
That's good. I was actually going to ask because I know that for me personally, like I'm at my computer if I'm going to watch something, or maybe in the living room. But like on my computer, like Netflix and like Hulu will never go above 720p because they're worried about privacy and all that jazz.
Right.
Because they want you to be in a closed ecosystem like a TVOS or something, or an Xbox, for example. But do any of those like services like Crunchyroll or anything do it any better job, or could you tell, or do you even watch it on the browser?
I very rarely watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do some research on it and see what's
an
going
85-inch TV, it'd be kind of ridiculous not to watch stuff on there.
720p, baby. Woo! Look on that big screen.
Yeah,
that's like watching a VHS on a 40-inch TV. Wow. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So what is it called? High dive?
High dive.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're looking for something that I know has a lot of subs or dubs, I'm sorry, it's getting towards the end of the day here. Not that Crunchyroll doesn't. It has a vast library. High Dive, I think, is a nice entry level. They're pretty easy to navigate as far as shows, recommendations, signing up and canceling. I mean, if you have App Store on Apple or Google Play, you can always sign up through there.
Oh, nice.
And then cancel through there too. So
yeah, just sign up and then cancel.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you hear that Disney is going to start doing channels? Disney Plus. They're going to have like a Marvel channel, a Disney channel for like Disney content, Marvel content, Star Wars content, Nat Geo content.
I feel like they kind of already have that stuff set up.
Yeah, so they kind of are doing that, but they're doing like now 24/7 channels. You can just click on it. It's going to be random, whatever it's tuned to your interests. So it's kind of coming back into that fold again.
My TV has Google channels. So
yeah. So it's like
there's Top Gear. We can bring Top Gear.
Yeah, that's the one I want to watch.
They have a Top Gear channel, and it was like
what?
It was like a road trips compilation one. I don't remember what it was, but it was like 4 hours long, and I just like turned it on when I was on lunch, and then when I got home, I turned it back on. It was great. Jeremy Clarkson is probably the best TV personality.
He's so good
for it.
He's so good.
Yes, power.
It's unfortunate that he had to get fired for punching that producer. Or whatever it was that he did.
David, do you remember when we had the Top Gear channel on Amazon?
Yeah.
Like 24/7, we had the Amazon channel running. We just pushed play on the first season and went through like 27 seasons.
I've totally done the same.
And we went to bed. We come back in the morning. It's Jeremy Clarkson still on the TV.
When my nephews lived here, and I had to, on the days where I would babysit, that was like Top Gear was like my go-to like
Top Gear day, baby.
Program.
Woo!
Right.
Yeah.
They would just like lay him down on the couch and put Top Gear on and be like, okay, you're gonna watch this, and pretty soon.
Boom.
Out.
Yeah.
Fast car.
Continue the shenanigans if you have Amazon Prime. Grand Tour is great. Yeah. And Jeremy Clarkson has his own show, Clarkson's Farm.
Yeah.
Also great.
Super great.
Totally picks fight with the little village town. I love it. I would love to just go and visit or move there and watch the shenanigans unfold.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Well, David, do you have any other final words for us? The audience?
Final words. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to another episode of the Snarp Fangle podcast. We really appreciate you. This is I'm not going to say the number because we might rearrange the orders. But anyway, we appreciate you guys so much for taking the time listening to us. And next time you tune into us, just come aboard and sing along and with all your hopes and dreams. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye now.